Let me ask you something before we begin, and be honest with yourself about the answer. Why does it matter so much to you whether she regrets it? Sit with that, because your honest answer reveals more than the answer to the question itself, because it's one of the most common questions a man asks after being left. Does she ever regret it? Does the girl who dumped me ever look back and wish she hadn't? Does she lie awake and miss me, realize what she lost, wish she could take it back? And I'm going to give you an honest answer today, not the comforting lie that she'll definitely regret it and come crawling back, and not the cruel claim that she never thinks of you at all, but the real, clear-eyed truth. And then I'm going to give you something far more valuable than the answer, the Stoic understanding of why this question has such a grip on you, why the answer matters far less than you think, and what actually sets you free, which has nothing to do with her regret at all, because here's what I've learned. The man who most needs to know whether she regrets it is usually the man who hasn't yet stopped needing her. So let's answer the question honestly, and then let's talk about the thing that actually matters. But before we begin, if you've been wondering whether she ever looks back, do this one thing for yourself right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because that's how you become a Stoic soldier, a man who shows up for his own peace every single day and never misses the lesson when he needs it most. And down in the comments, type 4 words and mean them. My peace, not hers. Say it before you've even finished watching, because the words you claim today become the strength you stand on tomorrow. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Why you're really asking. Let's start by being honest about why you're really asking this question, because understanding your true motive is the first step to freeing yourself from its grip. On the surface, does she regret it, looks like a simple question about her, but underneath, it's almost never really about her at all. It's about you and what you're hoping her regret would give you. Think about it honestly. If you knew she deeply regretted leaving, how would that make you feel? Probably validated, like you mattered, like you were worth keeping, like the loss was hers and not a reflection of your inadequacy. Vindicated, like you were right, like she was wrong, like the ending was her mistake. And hopeful, because if she regrets it, then maybe the door isn't fully closed, maybe she'll come back, maybe this isn't really over. Those 3 things, validation, vindication, and hope, are what you're actually reaching for when you ask whether she regrets it. The question is about her, but the need is entirely yours. And once you see this clearly, the whole question reframes, because it reveals that what you're really seeking isn't information about her feelings. It's relief from your own pain. You want her regret, because her regret would soothe the wound of being left, would tell you that you were valuable, would keep hope alive. And that's completely human, completely understandable. But it also means that you've made your comfort dependent on her feelings, on something entirely outside your control, which is a fragile place to stand. The Stoics understood that we constantly seek external things to soothe internal wounds, and that this outsourcing of our peace to things we can't control is a primary source of our suffering. So be honest about why you're really asking, not to understand her, but to be validated, vindicated, and given hope. And once you recognize that these are the real needs underneath the question, you can begin to find far better ways to meet them, ways that don't depend on the feelings of the person who left. Number 2. The honest answer, sometimes. So let's actually answer the question, honestly and without the comforting distortions that most people offer. Does the girl who dumped you ever regret it? The honest answer is, sometimes. Sometimes she does. Sometimes over time, a person who ended a relationship comes to miss what they had, to recognize its value more clearly in its absence, to wonder whether they made the right choice, to feel genuine regret about the decision or about how things ended. This does happen. It's real. But, and this is just as important, sometimes she doesn't. Sometimes the person who ended things feels relief rather than regret, moves on cleanly, feels increasingly confident it was the right decision, and never looks back with any meaningful regret at all. Both of these are common outcomes, and which one occurs depends on countless factors specific to the person, the relationship, and the circumstances. Factors you often can't see and can't predict. And here's the crucial part of the honest answer. You cannot know which one it will be in your specific case. Anyone who tells you with certainty that she'll definitely regret it and come back is selling you comfort, not truth. They can't know that. And anyone who tells you she definitely never thinks of you is equally overstepping. They can't know that either. The honest truth is that regret sometimes comes and sometimes doesn't, that it varies enormously from situation to situation, and that you genuinely cannot know which will happen with the specific person who left you. The Stoics valued this kind of honest acknowledgement of uncertainty, refusing to claim knowledge they didn't have, understanding that false certainty in either direction leads us astray. So the honest answer is, sometimes, and you can't know, which is unsatisfying, I know, because you wanted a definite yes. But that unsatisfying honesty is far more useful than a comforting lie, because it points you toward the real question. If you can't know whether she'll regret it, then maybe the answer was never where your freedom was going to come from. Number 3. When regret does come. Let's look more closely at the cases where regret does come, because understanding how it actually works dispels a lot of the fantasy around it. When a person genuinely comes to regret ending a relationship, it usually happens gradually, over time, and often for reasons that have little to do with the fantasy you might be imagining. In your mind, her regret might look like a sudden, dramatic realization. She wakes up one day, overwhelmed by the recognition of what she lost, desperate to get you back. But real regret rarely works that way. When it comes, it tends to arrive slowly, quietly, in small moments. A memory that surfaces, a comparison to someone new who falls short, a loneliness that makes the past look warmer, a gradual softening of whatever frustrations drove the breakup. It's usually less a dramatic epiphany and more a slow, ambivalent, complicated feeling that coexists with all the reasons she left in the first place. And here's something important about the regret that does come. It often doesn't mean what you'd want it to mean. A person can genuinely regret aspects of a breakup, miss you, wish things had been different, feel sad about the loss, while still believing on balance that ending it was right. Regret and the desire to reconcile are not the same thing. Someone can regret losing you and still not want to get back together because the regret is about missing the good parts, while the decision was about the problems that outweighed them. So even when regret comes, it's frequently partial, complicated, and mixed with a continued conviction that the breakup was necessary. The Stoics understood that human emotions are complex and rarely as simple or as clean as we imagine them from the outside. So when regret does come, understand it realistically. It usually arrives slowly rather than dramatically. It's often partial and ambivalent rather than total, and it frequently coexists with the belief that leaving was still right. The fantasy of her overwhelming reconciliation-seeking regret is mostly just that, a fantasy. The reality, when regret comes at all, is quieter and far more complicated. Number 4. Why her regret wouldn't fix what you think. Now let's confront something you may not want to hear but need to. Even if she does regret it, even fully and deeply, it wouldn't fix what you think it would fix. Let's say you got exactly what you're hoping for. She regrets it completely, misses you terribly, wishes she'd never let you go. What would that actually change about your situation? Your pain would still be there. The relationship still ended. The problems that caused it still exist. And your healing, your peace, your life. None of it is actually improved by her feeling regret. Her regret is a feeling in her, and a feeling in her doesn't heal a wound in you. You might feel a momentary flush of validation or vindication, but that fades quickly, and underneath it, your actual situation, the loss, the pain, the need to rebuild, remains exactly the same. Her regret changes how she feels. It doesn't change what you need to do to heal and move forward. And even in the case where her regret might lead to her wanting you back, even then, it wouldn't necessarily fix anything and might make things worse. Because a reconciliation driven by her regret would mean returning to a relationship that ended for real reasons, reopening a situation whose problems haven't been solved, likely repeating the same painful cycle. Her regret doesn't fix the incompatibilities, doesn't resolve the issues, doesn't guarantee anything different. It just reopens a door that closed for reasons that probably still stand. The Stoics understood that we often desperately want things that wouldn't actually serve us, that our desires frequently point us toward our own suffering rather than away from it. So understand this clearly. Her regret, even if it came in full, wouldn't heal your pain, wouldn't rebuild your life, and wouldn't fix the problems that ended things. It would give you a fleeting feeling of validation and then leave your actual situation unchanged, which means the thing you've been hoping for, her regret, was never actually the solution to anything. And recognizing that frees you to look for the real solution, which was always going to come from you, not from her. Number 5, the danger of waiting for her regret. Now let's talk about the real danger here, because it's subtle and it costs men enormous amounts of their lives. Waiting for her regret. Many men, consciously or not, put their lives on hold waiting for the moment she'll regret it and come back. They stay emotionally suspended, unable to fully move forward, because moving forward would mean giving up on the hope of her regret. They monitor her for signs of it. They imagine the scene where she finally realizes what she lost. They keep a door open in their heart, waiting. And this waiting is devastating, because it means you stop living your own life while you hold your breath for a future moment that may never come, that you can't control, and that wouldn't even fix things if it did. You freeze yourself in place, tethered to a hope, while time passes and your actual life goes unlived. And here's what makes waiting for her regret so insidious. It feels like hope, but it's actually a prison. As long as you're waiting for her to regret it, you're keeping yourself emotionally chained to her, unable to heal, unable to move on, unable to invest fully in your own future, because part of you is always turned backward, watching for the regret you're hoping will come. And even if it never comes, the waiting itself does the damage, stealing months or years of your life that you spend suspended rather than living. The Stoics understood that staking our happiness on future events outside our control is a recipe for a wasted and anxious life, and that we must live in the present and invest in what we can actually control. So recognize the danger of waiting for her regret. It keeps you emotionally chained, prevents your healing, and steals your present life in exchange for a hoped-for future that may never arrive and wouldn't fix anything if it did. Don't wait for her regret. Your life is happening now, and it can't wait suspended for a moment that was never guaranteed to come. Number 6. The regret you can't see. Here's another truth that dissolves the fantasy. Even if she does come to regret it, you will very often never see it, never know about it, never get the satisfaction you're imagining. Think about it. If she regrets it privately, lying awake, missing you, wishing things were different, but never tells you, never reaches out, never shows it, then her regret exists, but is completely invisible to you. And that's actually the most common scenario, because people who regret breakups frequently don't act on it, out of pride, out of fear, out of the belief that too much time has passed, out of a competing conviction that leaving was still right. So the regret can be entirely real and entirely hidden, happening in her private moments, where you'll never witness it. The dramatic scene you're imagining, where she comes to you and admits her regret, is far rarer than the quiet, private, unexpressed regret that you'd never know about at all. And this reveals something important about the whole pursuit. Hoping to witness her regret is a bet you're very likely to lose, even if the regret itself occurs. You could spend years waiting to see the evidence of her regret and never see it, not because it didn't happen, but because it happened somewhere you'll never have access to, which means that even in the best case for your fantasy, where she genuinely regrets it deeply, you may still never get the validation you're waiting for, because the regret stays locked in her private world. The Stoics understood that we cannot access other people's inner experiences, and that building our hopes on witnessing another person's feelings is building on something we can never reach. So understand this: even if she regrets it, you probably won't see it, which means waiting to witness her regret is waiting for something that likely won't come, even if the regret itself does. The satisfaction you're hoping for isn't just uncertain, it's largely inaccessible, which is one more reason to stop looking for it and to turn toward the one thing you actually can access and control: your own life. Number 7. Why the question keeps you stuck. Now let's get to the heart of it, the most important insight in this entire video. The very act of asking whether she regrets it keeps you stuck. Think about what it means that you're asking this question at all, and asking it repeatedly. It means she's still occupying your mind, still the focus of your thoughts, still the center of your emotional world. Every time you wonder whether she regrets it, you're turning your attention back toward her, keeping your attachment alive, keeping the wound open, keeping yourself emotionally tethered to the person you're supposedly trying to move past. The question itself is a form of holding on, and asking it over and over, checking for signs, imagining the scenarios, hoping for the regret, is one of the most effective ways to keep yourself chained to a relationship that's over, because it keeps her at the center of your inner life indefinitely. And here's the deeper truth: the need to know whether she regrets it is itself a sign that you haven't yet let go. A man who had genuinely healed and moved on wouldn't be preoccupied with whether his ex regrets it. The question would have lost its urgency, because his peace would no longer depend on her feelings at all. The very fact that the question grips you reveals that you're still emotionally invested, still seeking validation from her, still not free. And the more you dwell on the question, the more you reinforce that attachment, keeping yourself exactly where you don't want to be. The Stoics understood that our peace comes from focusing on what we control and releasing our grip on what we don't, and that continually returning our attention to things outside our power keeps us bound to them. So recognize this. Asking whether she regrets it keeps her at the center of your mind, keeps your attachment alive, and keeps you stuck in the very place you're trying to leave. The question isn't a path to peace, it's a tether, and the moment you stop asking it is the moment you begin to actually let go. Number 8. The better question. So let's replace the question, because you've been asking the wrong one, and the right one changes everything. Instead of asking, does she regret it? A question about her, about the past, about something you can't control or even know. Ask this: what am I going to build, regardless of whether she ever does? Do you feel the difference? The first question focuses on her feelings, keeps you tethered to the past, and puts your peace in her hands. The second focuses on your future, your growth, your life, and puts your peace back in your own hands where it belongs. The better question isn't about whether she looks back with regret. It's about whether you move forward with purpose. It shifts your entire orientation from waiting on her to building yourself, from the uncontrollable past to the controllable future, from her feelings to your life. And when you genuinely shift to this better question, everything changes. You stop monitoring her for signs of regret and start investing in your own growth. You stop waiting for a future moment that may never come and start creating a future you actually control. You stop measuring your worth by whether she regrets losing you and start building a life so genuinely good that her regret becomes irrelevant. And here's the beautiful irony. The man who stops caring whether she regrets it and pours all that energy into building an extraordinary life often becomes exactly the kind of man someone would regret losing. Not that it matters to him anymore, because he's moved on to something far better than waiting for anyone's regret. The Stoics understood that a good life is built through focusing on our own growth and virtue, not through fixation on others' feelings toward us. So ask the better question. Stop wondering whether she regrets it, and start deciding what you're going to build regardless. Because the answer to, does she regret it, was never going to determine your life. But the answer to, what will I build, absolutely will. Number 9. The man who stops needing her regret. Let me show you who you become when you truly internalize all of this. The man who no longer needs her to regret it. Picture him. He used to wonder, to hope, to wait for signs that she looked back with regret. But somewhere along the way, through his own healing and growth, the question simply lost its grip on him. He stopped needing her regret to feel validated because he found his validation within himself. He stopped needing her regret to feel vindicated because he stopped needing to be proven right by her feelings. And he stopped needing her regret to keep hope alive because he stopped hanging his future on the possibility of her return. He reached a place where whether she regrets it or not is genuinely, completely irrelevant to his peace. Not because he suppressed his curiosity, but because he built a life and a self so solid that her feelings toward him no longer had any bearing on his well-being. And this man possesses a freedom that the question asker never could. Freedom from needing anything from the person who left. His peace is his own, rooted in his own life and his own growth, not dependent on her regret, her return, or her feelings in any way. He can genuinely wish her well, hope she's happy, and remain completely unbothered by whether she ever thinks of him at all, because his well-being was never actually tied to hers. The Stoics understood this as a mark of genuine freedom and self-sufficiency, to need nothing from others for your own peace, to be complete in yourself, regardless of anyone else's feelings or choices. So the man who stops needing her regret has achieved exactly that. He's become so grounded in his own life that the question that once consumed him has simply dissolved, replaced by a full and forward-moving life of his own. That is who's waiting on the other side of this. Not a man who finally got the regret he was waiting for, but a man who stopped needing it and found something far better. A life so genuinely his own that no one's regret, or lack of it, could add to it or take from it. And a man like that has found the real answer to the question, which was never about her at all. Number 10. The final word. So let's bring it all the way home. Does the girl who dumped you ever regret it? The honest answer is, sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't, and you can't know which. And when regret does come, it's usually quieter, more partial, and more complicated than the fantasy. But by now you understand the deeper truth, that even if she regretted it fully, it wouldn't heal your pain or fix what's broken, that you'd likely never even see it, that waiting for it keeps you chained and steals your present, and that the very act of asking keeps you stuck. And most importantly, you learned the better question, not does she regret it, but what will I build regardless? That's the whole of it. And here's the deepest truth to carry with you. Whether she regrets it was never the question that determines your life. Her regret can't heal you, can't rebuild you, can't complete you. Only you can do those things. So stop waiting to find out if she looks back and start building a life so good that the answer stops mattering entirely. Because the man who no longer needs her regret has found something far more valuable than any regret could ever be. His own freedom and his own life, fully reclaimed. And if this video gave you even a fraction of the clarity or peace you came here looking for, then before you go, do these last few things for yourself. Like this video so it can reach the next man lying awake wondering whether she ever looks back. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you stand with us as a Stoic soldier, a man who shows up for his own peace every single day and never misses the lesson when he needs it most. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching all the way to the end. So the next time you find yourself wondering whether she regrets it, remember the honest answer. Sometimes, maybe, You can't know, and it wouldn't fix anything anyway. Then let the question go, and turn all that energy toward the only thing that was ever going to set you free: your own healing, your own growth, and your own life. Build something so good that whether she regrets losing you becomes the least important question in the world, because your peace was never going to come from her looking back. It was always going to come from you moving forward. Stay grounded, stay unshakable, and I'll see you in the next one.